Hi everyone, welcome to the second in our media literacy series webinars. My name is Erica and I'm with DLR Libraries, and today I'm very happy to welcome back Ricardo Castellini. He'll be discussing fighting disinformation and fake news, and I'm sure you'll have lots of great tips for us on that. It's very apt. This series is also part of an exhibition we have going on in the Lexicon Library called the Glassroom Misinformation Edition. But of course, unfortunately, due to level 5 restrictions, you can't come into the library to see it, but it is available to view online through the Tactical Tech website. So I'm just going to show you that very quickly, and I urge everyone to check it out. It's the Glassroom Misinformation Edition, and you can view it at tacticaltech.org. Their main website, and each of the slides or the slides of the exhibition that you see here in the lexicon, you'll be able to see online and be able to interact. It's definitely worth checking out. That link is also up on our website, and it'll be going up on our social media. And you can also email us if you're having any issues getting it. But right now, I'm going to let you let Ricardo take over and enjoy the series today. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Hello, everyone. Can you see me here? Yep. Okay. Hello. So my name is Ricardo Castellini. I am a media educator. This workshop, as Erica said, is part of a media literacy series that I'm producing here to promote the exhibition on misinformation. This series is running for 6 weeks, and this is the second week. So every Monday, we have a new educational video that will be uploaded to the website, to the library's website. And every Wednesday, we have a live online event. Last week, we had a seminar on disinformation and COVID-19. And today, the topic of our workshop is fighting disinformation and fake news. I think it's a very pressing subject to talk about. If you know someone who would like to be here today, but for whatever reason could not attend this workshop, we'll have the same workshop again on November 25th at the same time, 1 p.m. So Wednesday, November 25th, 1 p.m., we'll have again this workshop on fighting disinformation and fake news. In terms of the format, the idea today is that I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the topic, disinformation and fake news. And then I'm going to show some practical ways of tackling misleading information and fake stories. I will also show some practical tools that we can use when we are researching information or reading news online. So if you have a device with you, and this can be a mobile phone or a laptop or a desktop computer, you can use it to follow what I'm doing. So the last third of our workshop, I'm going online here, and I'm going to show you some things you can do to research for information online. I'm going to try to be as slow as possible so everyone can follow. As you know, your video and audio, they are turned off, but you can still participate through our chat. So if you have any questions or comments, please send to us. As I said to Erica, if you ask something and I don't know the answer, and this is something that happens quite often because the new technologies, they evolve so fast. So sometimes new things come up and people ask me something and I don't know the answer. So if this happens, I'm going to ask you to leave your email address, and then I can find the answer for you and I send this by email to you. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to start with some definitions. Because in this area, we talk about disinformation. Some people say fake news, some people say misinformation. And actually, there is no agreement, to be honest to you. Even among scholars, we sometimes we struggle to understand what we're talking about because people use different words. So I found these definitions on the UNESCO website, and I think they are quite useful. So according to UNESCO, disinformation means information that is false or deliberately created to harm a person, social group, organization, or country, which they consider different from misinformation, which is information that is false, but is not created with the intention of causing harm. So basically here, the difference is about intention. If you create something knowing that is false, and you spread this deliberately, so this is regarded as disinformation. If you, for example, if you are on social media and you receive information and you think it's true, but it's not, and then you share this with someone, this is considered misinformation. And they have another word called malinformation, which is when it's information based on reality, so it's not fake, but the way you use this information is to inflict harm on a person, social group, organization, or country. So I'm giving you these definitions just to situate what I'm doing, but today I'm just going to talk about disinformation. So when I'm talking about disinformation, I'm going to contextualize what I'm saying so that you understand if I'm talking about information that it was created on purpose, or if it's information that is spread accidentally. Okay. So I'm going to start with just a brief introduction, talking about the information age. So we created this idea of the information age. What is the information age? I don't know how old you are. I am my generation, actually, it's a very interesting one, because I first met internet when I was 18 years old. So I remember very well what was the word like before internet. And if you also remember, you know that it was completely different. We had absolutely no access to information compared to today. So the information age is the idea that the internet and the new digital technologies, they brought all this information to our world, this access to information. The amount of information that we have access to nowadays, it's absolutely incalculable. And of course, there are many benefits to it. I could spend hours here talking about that in terms of education, learning, work, communications, many things. However, since around 2010, we've been talking about the disinformation age, which is it's quite a paradox, because at the same time that the information age brought a lot of opportunities for us, but the fact that now we have a lot of information does not mean that all the information out there is of good quality. We have a lot of poor information as well, and these three words are associated with this disinformation age: post-truth, alternative facts, and fake news. And there are three main elements that we can relate to the disinformation age. The first one is media production. One of the biggest changes that the information age brought to us is the fact that now we are not only consumers of information, but we are also producers of information. And this was a big change. Like 20 years ago, if you wanted to produce content and share this content with the world, it was very expensive and very difficult. And nowadays it's easy and relatively cheap. Of course, depends on where you live in the world. Not everyone has access to technology. We know that there's a big gap, but most people nowadays can produce media. So this was a big change. And what's the problem with that? The problem is that if everyone can produce content, there's a lot of people produce very good content, a very interesting content, but there's a lot of people producing very bad content. So this is the first element of the disinformation age. It's very easy to create and spread false information online. The second thing, it has to do with the business model. The business model of the digital platforms is quite complex, and of course I'm not going through this today. But basically the idea is that quantity is better than quality, in a sense that the more clicks you have or the more views you have, the more money you can get. For example, if you want to become a YouTuber, you can set up your page on YouTube, your channel, and if you have a lot of views, if you have a lot of interactions, you can monetize this. So you can start actually getting money with YouTube. But that doesn't mean that the content you're producing is good, because it doesn't matter what you're saying. What really matters is the amount of clicks that you get, the amount of views you get. And this is not only YouTube, this is for Instagram and other digital platforms as well. So this business model creates a situation where no matter what I'm saying, even if it's true or false, the main topic for me is that if I have a lot of viewers, if I have a lot of followers, as we say, and these followers interact with me, they are viewing my videos and they are participating, I can monetize this and I can get a lot of money out of this, regardless of the content that we have. So this is the second element. And the third element, oh, sorry. This one is, I just put this video here because, as I said, I won't be able to talk about the business model today, but I found this video on YouTube. If you want to copy the link, or if you just type actually ad network versus ad exchange on YouTube, you're going to find this video. It's a very short video. And this guy explained very well how the business model works. So you can understand a little bit better, especially in terms of advertisers, how the advertisers are part of this business model, and how this business model actually creates this situation where it's very easy to spread fake news. And finally, the third element is what we call echo chamber. So echo chamber is the idea that we are exposed to ideas that match our preferences, okay? So basically, when you know that all these digital media platforms, they collect our data. So every time you go to Google and you type something, Google collects this data. Every time you go to Facebook and you interact with the interface, Facebook is collecting your data. Why they do this? Well, according to them, they do this because they want to provide you with a very personalized experience, which is not, which is true. I mean, they're not lying about this. They actually give us a very personalized experience. We know that the main reason is not exactly this. And once you understand the business model, you see that it's a little bit different. But that's what they say. So they say that they want to give us a personalized experience, and they actually do that. So every time you go to these social media platforms, you have a very particular experience. The content you see on your Facebook page, on your Instagram page, it's tailored to you, especially to you. So everyone has a different experience online. And what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that if when you're there, you're getting a lot of information that matches your own preferences, which is good on the one hand, because, you know, if you like, I don't know, if you like music, you're going to get a lot of videos about music, for example. But on the other hand, you're not exposed to ideas that confront what you believe. And it's very important to have ideas that confront our beliefs, you know. So a lot of people go online and they think, well, this is a perfect world because most people agree with me on Facebook. And, you know, apparently all my values and convictions are universal, but this is only an illusion. So this also creates a situation where apparently we are only receiving information that confirms our beliefs, and all this information seems to be true, but some of them are not. So this causes also this is another problem that creates this environment where it's easier to spread disinformation and fake news. Actually, just this video now that I'm gonna show you is a video that was produced by BBC News, and the name of the reporter is Marianne Spring. It's about disinformation and COVID-19. Is a very short video, and it's interesting for us to understand who starts viral disinformation. There are many agents involved in that, and she talks a little bit about this.
Want to know why coronavirus started? Or what might cure it? Well, search online and you'll find thousands of answers, many of which aren't true. I investigate disinformation for the BBC, and I'm often asked, who starts these rumours and who spreads them? Well, as always, the answer isn't straightforward. So I've broken them down into 5 different types. 1. The Joker. Lots of people have been sharing funny posts and memes online, and some of them are pretty good, but others go too far and people actually believe that they're true. 2. The Scammer. This lot are looking to make money from the pandemic. Some create fake texts trying to get hold of your bank account details, or others plug dodgy advice looking to sell their remedies and cures. 3. The Politician. The people in charge can also spread fake news. That includes officials and state-sponsored media from around the world. Officials in China and the US have been trading misinformation since the start of the virus, each accusing the other of deliberately creating it. Of course, neither of those claims are true. And there are concerns about foreign interference. That's when states spread misleading information abroad in order to further their own aims. But it can be very difficult to trace interference back to the people in charge, or to figure out who are behind networks of fake accounts that are pushing misleading information. 4. The Conspiracy Theorist. These people think that nothing is as it seems. They've falsely linked 5G to coronavirus, speculated about who created it, or even suggested that coronavirus doesn't exist at all. None of these are true. These ideas have been bouncing around on the internet for a while, but they've started getting more attention as worried people look for quick answers to their questions. 5. The Insider. There's information that apparently comes from someone you'd trust, an unnamed doctor, professor, or hospital worker. But it turns out they don't exist, or if they do, it seems to be a game of Chinese whispers gone wrong. And this misinformation goes viral because it's shared, often by a relative in your WhatsApp group who passes it on just in case, or by a celebrity who amplifies it to their thousands of followers. Tech companies, media regulators, and governments decide what happens when people start and spread misinformation, but ultimately we're all responsible for stopping its spread. Check out our top tips for spotting and stopping misleading stuff online, and think before you share. Want to know why coronavirus?
Good. So as you saw, actually, there are many agents that contribute to the spread of fake stories. And one of the things that is important for us to understand is that actually we are also this kind of agents, at least in potential. So if we don't pay attention to what we are doing online, we can also contribute to this spread of misinformation or disinformation. Even if I'm not creating myself any fake news, but if I contribute to spreading, I'm part of this mechanism, you know? So how can we actually fight that? The first thing is about knowledge, of course. This is quite obvious, but we have to talk about that. So in order to fight disinformation, the first thing is we have to try to learn as much as possible about how these new digital technologies work. And like what you guys are doing here today is basically that. So you're watching this workshop because you want to learn a little bit about how to fight disinformation. And there's a lot of information, good information out there. If you go to Google and type, you know, I want to learn more about how the digital technologies work, how this business model work. There's a lot of good information out there on YouTube. There's a lot of videos. There's a lot of documentaries nowadays about this. So knowledge is very important. The more knowledge you have about how these technologies work, the better. Also, we have to try to understand ourselves. So knowledge about ourselves, how we react when we encounter this kind of information, okay? The second thing is what we call critical thinking. So critical thinking is basically when we work like detectives looking at information. So it's a step further from knowledge. Knowledge is when you learn something, right? So you have information, you learn this information, and this becomes knowledge to you. Critical thinking, it's something more than that. Critical thinking is when you are assessing information in a critical way. So you're looking for evidences. You are questioning the sources. So basically, it is about being suspicious, but without being cynic. We have to be careful. We can't be, cynicism is something really bad. Cynicism is when you say, I don't believe in anything. Everyone is a liar. I don't believe in people. So this is not the case here. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being careful with information. So when you receive something, if you have the knowledge, it's better, but then you can move a step forward to critical thinking and say, let me evaluate this information. Let me see if this is true or not. So this is what critical thinking is for. And finally, bias. I think you've probably heard about our confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is that inclination or desire that we have to interpret information in a way that confirms our previous beliefs. And this is universal. Everyone has that, and you can't block a confirmation bias. And you probably it's not really difficult to spot confirmation bias. It's when that moment that you come across an information or news, and you feel very good about it. You think, wow, this is amazing. But you have to think why I'm feeling good about this information. Is because this information is really accurate, or it's just because it's good for me? It's because it pleases me in some sense. And the opposite as well. Sometimes you come across information and you go like, oh my God, this is really bad. I don't believe in that. But why you don't believe in that? Because it's not true, or because you don't want to be true? So these three elements are very important: knowledge, critical thinking, and bias. Okay. Actually, we last Monday we uploaded one video. I'm sorry for my face; the thumbnail was not really the best one. But last Monday we uploaded a video to the website, and the topic is exactly about that: about understanding how we deal with information on a daily basis. So I talk about the difference between information and knowledge. I discuss confirmation bias, critical thinking, and a little more in depth. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this video is available on the library's website. Okay, so let's get a little bit more practical here. How do we assess information? The first thing is we need, of course, reliable source. What do I mean by reliable source? Reliable source is that source where you know that it's 100% guarantee you're going to find the best information in the world. No, it's not that. Well, but what is it? Well, I'm saying this because the other day, for example, a friend of mine said to me, Ricardo, somebody told me about a very good academic journal, because I was searching for some information. So somebody said to me, you should try this academic journal. It's very good. And then I went to this academic journal, and then I found out that, I don't know, 5 years ago, this journal published a research that was afterwards, after they published, they found that this research was not accurate, that there was problem with methodology and a lot of stuff. So I don't believe this journal anymore. I think it doesn't work like this, because people make mistakes. I mean, we make mistakes. I make mistakes as an educator. People make mistakes. So if you make one mistake or two mistakes, this is fine. So what I'm trying to say here is that reliable sources are sources where it's much more likely that you're going to find very good information in these sources compared to the other one. Out of the millions of sources we have today, reliable sources are the ones where where it's more likely that you're going to find good quality information. Okay, that's what I mean by reliable sources. So the first one is what we call primary or original source. Usually, it's very difficult to have access to primary source. When you read news on the newspaper, for example, you're not having access to the primary source. So a journalist is giving you information that he or she collected somewhere. Primary source, for example, and this is kind of good in terms of the new digital technologies, because now, because of these technologies, we have access to some primary information. One example is Twitter. Okay, so if you go to Twitter and you go to Barack Obama's account, you can actually read what Barack Obama wrote. So this is primary source. You're going to the original source without any filter. And you see that in Twitter, they have this blue sign beside the name of Barack Obama. This means that his account has been validated by Twitter. So it's a real Barack Obama. Because if you type Barack Obama on Twitter, there might be like 10 different Barack Obamas with Barack Obama picture, but they are all fake accounts. The one with this little blue sign means that this is the real one. It has been validated by Twitter. So it's good that we have access to this kind of primary source today. You can go to Twitter, for example, and you can read what Barack Obama said without any filter, without going through any mediation, we could say like this. The second one, I would say, it's scientific papers and publications, okay? Especially if they are peer-reviewed. So peer-reviewed papers are papers where if you publish something, if you want to publish something, your paper has to be validated by other scientists. So because of that, we consider that scientific papers and publications, they are reliable sources. Again, that doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes. The Lancet, for example, is one of the best medical journals, more respected, at least, medical journals in the world. A lot of people have been talking about the Lancet lately because of the COVID-19. They are publishing a lot of researches on that, but that doesn't mean that, you know, the Lancet, like, for example, one of the examples, I think, I don't remember how long ago, but I think 10, 15 years ago, the Lancet published a paper about saying that the vaccines caused autism. So, and then afterwards, they realized that that paper was completely wrong. There was a lot of problems with methodology and stuff, but they published. So sometimes, you know, these journals, they make mistakes like any other source, but they are still reliable. Again, I'm talking about the most reliable sources of information and not perfect information. There's no perfect place for us to, there's no oracle where we go and we get the perfect information. What we have is the best ones, the most reliable sources possible. And then the third one is government and educational websites. Again, some people say, well, Ricardo, but not all governments are good, right? So we cannot trust all governments in the world. Yes, I agree with you. But first thing we need to be careful is we cannot confuse government with the person in charge. These are two separating, because sometimes you have countries where you know, they have a very solid democratic institutions, and occasionally you have some people in charge who are not really fond of democratic institutions and have some ideas that are a little bit controversial, but the institutions are there. So still, if you're talking about a democratic country where you have solid institutions, you usually can trust in the government. And the same for educational websites. If you visit a university website, usually you can trust in this university. And why that? Because they can be held accountable for what they say. If a university, for example, publishes something that is not true, that it's false, this is really serious, and this can have really bad consequences to the university. So, you know, they are very careful with this kind of information. One example, for example, if you want to know more information about COVID-19 here in Ireland, you can visit the HSC website. There's a lot of information in there, and this is a good example of reliable information, reliable source. Sorry. And finally, the mainstream news media. And this is probably the most controversial one. I know the news media has been under attack recently. Actually, the news media has always been under attack, but recently much stronger attack, especially in countries with populist governments. And the first thing I want to say about the news media is, of course, that we have to critically analyze the news media. Of course, that we know there are bad journalists. Of course, there are. The same way there are bad engineers, there are bad educators, and so on. Of course, that we know that some news outlets are better than others. We know that. We know that some news outlets have some bias. They do have some bias. But the first thing is, 100% neutrality does not exist anywhere in the world. And why? Because we as human beings, we are not neutral. There's no neutrality. The role of the journalist is to seek neutrality, of course, and try to be as neutral as possible when they are reporting an event. So if they are reporting something, they have to try to be neutral and just, tell the story to you in the best way possible. But 100% neutrality is impossible, because every word you write carries something about you, your perspective. If you get 10 people to write about an event, you're going to get 10 different stories. It's slightly different, of course, because it's the same event. But the words you choose, the way you're going to frame, the angle you choose, everything combines for this. So this is one thing. It's different from fake news, because here we're talking about fake news. Bias is one thing, and I'm not saying that bias is good. I'm just saying that it's different. This is another topic that we can discuss in a different opportunity. But it's not about fake news. So in this sense, I still believe that the mainstream news media is a reliable source of information. This means that you're going to believe in everything you read on the Irish Times or Independent or Guardian. No, of course not. You always have to approach news media with a critical eye. And that's why it's better if you get your information from more than one source, not just one. So if you have time, to watch the RTE news, and then you're going to read the Irish Times, Independent, the Journal, BBC News. So it's better, because then you can get different perspectives. But it's very difficult that these kind of media outlets are going to publish some lies, something that is not based on facts. So that's why I think they are still reliable sources. And actually, I think we need journalists today like never before, especially because of the fake news. I brought here one example of how you can just changing one. This is a very fresh, actually, news. I got this last night. Somebody sent to me, and it was really appropriate. So how, if you change one verb, you can frame the news in completely different ways. You see here, the first one goes like, USPS ignores court order deadline to sweep for missed ballots. The second one say USPS misses court's deadline for sweep, and the third one says UPS failed to. So you see that the way they frame the news, the event is the same, the information is the same, but just by changing the verb, the first one appears that it's saying that the UPS ignores, like they didn't care too much about meeting the deadline. The second one frames as if it was an accident, so they missed the deadline, and the third one is more critical, like they failed. So this is what I'm talking about. But none of them are creating something that is not based on facts. They're just framing in different ways, and this is problematic as well. But this is a different topic. And here I have examples of Irish news media, the Irish Times, the RT, and Independent, as examples that I think that are reliable sources of information. So moving on, let's get a little bit more practical now. And when you encounter information, so the first thing we said is you have to choose good sources of information. So this is the main thing that we have to do. Second, you have to analyze the content. How do you do that? Well, the first thing is you have to go for the basic information. Basic information is, who is the author? is there a date? So when you get some information, and this can be information you find on social media, you receive it through WhatsApp, or you encounter when you are searching on Google. So who wrote this piece of information? Do you have access to the author? Do you have access to the date? I put an example here on the journal, for example. You can see that there's a date on the top. And then if you go down here, it says it was published 15 hours ago. And then if you scroll down, it's going to show the name of the author, and not only the name, but you can actually send an email to him. And it says here, see more articles by Garrett. So actually you can see other articles from this author. So it's kind of reliable. You know, they're not hiding anything from us. You have the date, you have the author, you can send a message to him. So of course that this is more reliable than sources that where you don't have the author and you don't have the date either. The second thing is about the format. And the format is, I mean, is this a news story? Is this opinion? Is this paid by someone? Is this trying to sell a product to you, a service? Does this message appeal to your emotions? It makes you really, really angry or really sad, you know? It's trying to make you feel emotional instead of to think critically and logically. So this is what we say about the appearance of that. I found this this is very useful by Pointer, which is the difference between opinion and news. And sometimes people don't realize that there are difference between opinion and news. And sometimes you receive something, and even though the source appears to be reliable, but you don't realize that that is just an opinion of a person. It's not a news article. So here I have some differences between opinion and news. The third thing is about language. So does the headline sound or look neutral when you are reading this news article? So for example, when you see this news, do you think this is neutral? Votes to liberalize drug laws pass in 3 states. It sounds pretty much neutral to me. Or you have something like Obama bureaucrats imposing radical homosexual sensitivity training. This one doesn't sound too neutral. So this is one thing that you have to look at, the headline. Just see if it looks neutral or not. Second good thing, is it trying to appeal to your emotions? Like Facebook stalking can actually kill you if you're not careful. So this one is trying to make you feel you know, very worried, and you're gonna feel afraid of what's going on. So you have to, you know, if they are using these more sensationalist way of approaching information, you also have to be a little bit careful about that. And then what are the sources within the information? Not only the source where you got this information, but within this information. For example, here they say scientists discovered that broadcasting the sound and so on. And then so, okay, but when they use the word science, usually people use the word science and say, oh, because if they're talking about science, so it must be true, you know? But here, who are these science? I mean, there's no information about who are the science, because science could be anyone. So in this other example, they say science from Trinity is a little bit better. So at least you know it's from Trinity, but again, you don't know exactly, you know, who is the research group, who was the people in charge. So it's better, but it's still not really, really good. And then in this one, you have actually the information about the assistant professor who was in charge and the department that she works, and actually a quote from her. So in this kind of situation, you have a more reliable source of information within the information, okay? Because it's very easy for me to come here and say whatever I want. I don't give sources to that. So when people give source to what they're saying, it's obviously more reliable. And what about the language and style? So fake articles usually use the following, and this is very common. And if you pay attention to this when you are reading something, especially on social media websites, this helps a lot. So the first thing is the language is usually very informal, okay? It's overly emotional language. So they're trying to appeal to your emotions. They don't want you to read that rationally. They want to appeal to your emotions. They want to make you feel happy or angry in some sense. They use a lot of superlatives like most and worst, adjectives such as brilliant and terrible. So it's always something very big that can cause impact to you. A lot of cap locks and exclamation marks. You probably, if you're used to reading newspapers, you know that journalists, professionally journalists, they don't use cap locks and exclamation marks a lot and this kind of words a lot because it doesn't sound very professional, right? The third thing is about appearance. So if you go to a fake news website, the appearance is usually not really good. And here it's important to say that if the appearance is good, that doesn't mean that the site is good, because some people they can create very good websites and the content is still very bad. But when the layout is really poor, like this one, for example, you have to think, well, I think this place is not really reliable for me as well. And the last thing is image, because not only we have to analyze the words, the style, and but also it's very easy to deceive people with fake image. I probably you remember this. I don't know if you saw this online. This was this picture I'm going to show you now. It was very popular about 2 years ago. The context was the Hurricane Harvey was hitting Texas and Louisiana in August 2017, and then first appeared this picture here on Twitter. And I mean, of course, this kind of picture is kind of obvious that this is fake, right? The guy is saying here, believe it or not, this is a shark on the freeway in Houston, Texas. Well, so anyone looking at this picture was like, okay, this is not true. But then there was another picture, this one, saying Houston family flees home from Hurricane Harvey inside fridge. And this, I mean, a lot of people was retweeting this picture. Even journalists, government members, a lot of people were retweeting this picture. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you one way how we can actually find out whether or not this picture is true or not. You probably know it's not true, but I'm going to show you how we can do that. Okay. So for example, if you want to know if this is true, I'm gonna close this now. I'm gonna open my Google here. So let's say I'm just gonna type Houston family flees home. Okay. So I'm going on Google and I'm gonna type Houston family flees home. And I'm gonna click here on images. And you see the fourth picture is the picture that I was looking for. If you do the same in your computer, because I said to you, everyone has a different experience. Maybe this picture will not be here, will be somewhere else, but you probably can find it. So I can click on this picture here. And if I want, there's something that we call reverse image search. So what's that? If you are on Google Chrome and you right click, and you right click, you have this option here, search Google for image. If you're not on Google Chrome, you might not have this option. So I'm going to ask you to either copy image address or you can save image as in your computer. Both work. Okay, so you can either copy image address or save image. I'm going to click here on search Google image. When I click here, see what happens. Google is going to show me all the instances where this image appeared on Google. So here I have the first link, fake photographs, Hurricane Harvey. So if I click, there will be a story about this fake tweet. and many other links. So actually, just by doing this image research, this reverse image research, you can actually find out whether or not this image is accurate or not. If you, as I said, if you're not in Chrome, you would have to come here. Oh, actually, I can't see my. And then you go to images, and then you click search by image. If you copy your email, if you copy the image address, you just need to paste the image address here. And it's going to have the same result. So this is a very simple tool, and you can use to find out whether an image is accurate or not. Okay. So I'm going to take this opportunity that I am here on Google. And for example, let's say that you received this message today on your WhatsApp. So your message say, hey, just heard that Varadkar apologized over that leak of the contract. And of course, everyone knows this by now. But let's say that you didn't know that whether or not he apologized. How can you find out this? Well, it's very easy. You go here on Google, and if you type Varadkar apologizes, I'm just going to write down this. I'm not going to write down all the information. Just Varadkar apologizes. This is the results I'm getting. I'm sorry that I have this red stuff here. I don't know how I did this. Sorry. So you see that I have one source from the journal, which is Lil Varadkar apologized. Another one from RT and another one from Irish Times. So I have 3 sources and 3 good sources saying that Varadkar apologized. So if you just, every time you receive a news or an information and you're not sure whether it is true or not, you just need to go to Google and type this information, and you can find out just by seeing if other people are talking about the same thing. Okay, so if you go online and you find out that there are a lot of news outlets talking about the same topic, it's very likely that this is true. You know, especially if you have this kind of media outlets talking about that. Okay. Now, well, we can use, like, for example, I just heard, actually, I think you guys are following, you're probably following I've just come back here. You are probably following the US election. And I've heard that Trump claimed victory. So if I type here, Trump claims victory, we have The Guardian, European leaders react with caution as Trump falsely claims victory. The Verge, Trump falsely and predictably claims he already won the 2020 election. And the Financial Times, US election results, what binded Trump, blah, blah, blah. So again, and if you scroll down here, you're going to see a lot of different sources saying that Trump, in a way or the other, claimed victory. So again, if you hear something and you're not sure about it, the first thing is go to Google, type it. And if you get a lot of information from good sources saying that that's true, it's because it's true. I just want to show you something else. It's about Google filters. So if you click here, Google search help, and you scroll down and you go to browse the web, and then you click filter your search results. In this area, you can find a lot of interesting information about how you can refine your search on Google. Okay, and this can be very helpful, especially if you want to be really accurate about the information you're looking for. So this is really, really, really good. And there are many ways of filtering your information. Some of them you can find actually here. If you are searching for something and you go tools, you can select by country, for example, any country or only Ireland. You can select time if you want something that was past hour, today or last week or year, or you can customize this. You can get all results of verbatim. If you go for images, then also you can select images per size, per color, type, time, usage rights. So these filters, I think they are really, really they are really important. Another thing that it's important is fact check. So I'm going to type here. I'm going to the journal website. And the journal, they have this fact check page, which is really resourceful. So there are many, many news stories that are debunked by the fact check. So I think it's a good place to come and have a look occasionally, because what they do is when there are some stories that are getting popular and then it turns out that these stories are not real, you can go here to in this page and they have some information about that, and they explain to you why this information is false, and they explain the sources. It's really resourceful. The BBC also have one. It's BBC Reality Check. Well, Biden and Trump are everywhere today. So here again, you have a lot of stories that have been debunked, and they explain to us why these stories are not true. And I want to suggest that you play an online game called Bad News Game. So if you just type Bad News Game on Google and you click on the first link, Bad News, this is an online game that teaches you how to create fake news. Actually, you become a fake news creator, which is interesting because by learning how to create fake news, you understand how fake news works. Of course, you're not going to spread any fake news here, but it just basically you have to choose between two options all the time, and then you start the game suggests some ideas for you to become a fake news producer, and then you start producing fake news and you get credibility and you get followers. So the more followers you get, the better for you on the game, and then you can win the game. The person who gets the more followers wins the game. So actually, the better as a fake news creator you are, more likely you're gonna win the game. And I think it's very interesting, especially if you have young people in your house. They say that this game is for 15 years or over, but I think even pre-teens with 12, 13 years old, they can play this game, and it's a very good source. Let me see if I have something else. The last thing I want to say is, you guys probably have heard about deep fakes, which is a step further on the development of disinformation. Nowadays, there are some softwares where you can reproduce people's voice, like like Photoshop is for photos. There are this software for voice. So actually, you can, if you record my voice, like I'm talking to you now, if somebody records my voice for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes, about what I'm talking about here now. They are able to reproduce my voice talking about any subject. So you can imagine how dangerous this can be. And in terms of video as well, this technology is still evolving, but this video I'm showing to you here, it's a TED talk about fake videos of real people, and this guy shows how they create these fake stories and so on. Let me go back here to. I'm trying to go back to Zoom. So that's it for today. Does anybody have any questions? Eric, are you there?
I am indeed. I just unshared you there. Thank you. That was really interesting, Ricardo. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I went a little bit over the time.
Oh, we have a question from Patrick Kavanagh. Would you recommend Snopes for fact checking even?
You know, I was checking actually Snopes today. I'm gonna open the website here again. I'm not really sure. I've heard a lot of things about Snopes. It's based in America, is that right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's quite popular. I did some search on Snopes today. I think it's good. What they try, but they work in a different way from these sources that I showed today, because what they do is you can type something. So like in the journal, you have to go there and they have these stories ready for you. Snopes is different, and this is good about Snopes because you can go and you type something, and then they're going to show you some stories about that. I think this feature is really good because you can research about fake stories. However, I was typing some subjects, and the links that came to me, I don't know, some links were not really reliable. So to be honest to you, I have to experiment these website more to give you an answer. But I think it's worth trying. I mean, I think they are reliable as a platform. They are definitely reliable. I just don't know if the results they bring to us are as reliable as the platform itself.
So it's basically take it with a pinch of salt, if you will.
That's the expression I was looking for. Yeah.
And has anyone else got any questions? We can, if you'd like to pop it in the chat box, and Ricardo, I'm sure, will be happy to answer.
Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, Ricardo, thank you so much.
Everyone knows everything about fake news now.
Become experts in the last few years.
Thank you very much for everyone for attending. Thank you very much. And as I said, I will be here again next week. The topic will be different. Will be about privacy, which is another very hairy subject. And this workshop will take place again, the same format with the same content in three weeks time on November 25th. So if somebody missed and would like to attend, please let them know about it.
That's brilliant. And as before, if you haven't booked, you can book on eventbrite.com. The links are also on our library's website. I'm going to kind of rejig it all around to make sure it's very visible for everyone. But if at any stage you're unsure or if you have any questions, do email the Lexicon Library, DLR Lexicon Library at Lexicon Library at dlrcoco.ie. But do give us an email or drop us a line on social media, and we will pass your comments on to Ricardo, or we will endeavour to answer them ourselves. Thank you so much. Looking forward to next week now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.